Sagittarius, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. In these weekly videos, I'm going to review the major planetary aspects and transits and how they aspect your natal sun and what that means for your bottom line. To understand these videos, all you need to know is your birthday, because I'm going to translate everything else for you. We're going to start out really broad with the general energies, the charts for the week. And then I'm going to focus that into Sagittarius specific information. And then I'll break everything down into the 3 decans of Sagittarius so I can tell exactly what is aspecting your natal suns, because not all Sagittarians are going to be impacted the same way. Let's start out with the big stuff. And it's actually a really nice week. I think some game changers can really happen. I think the universe is clearing the way for a new start. Why do I think that? Because all week long there is an easement via the grand Earth trine that we're going to be experiencing between Pluto, Uranus, and the Sun. What does that mean? There is that sense of whatever we have accepted as truth and as fact, including how we see ourselves, so because the Sun is included. That's going to ease up a little bit. It's not about slacking off, it's about giving the world and reality some slack. Now, in addition to this, the Sun is also in opposition to Neptune, which clogs our brain and confuses us and even distracts us or deceives us. So the question there is, how have we been deceiving ourselves? By accepting normality as the truth. Because sometimes you can get so lost in tradition or the way things have always been that you think, well, this is reality, right? But that's the biggest deception of all, because it's really not. And how then can we step outside of the norm and see and give opportunity to other experiences as well as other potentials inside of us, what else we are capable of, as well as the universe and the outside world giving us that slack too. So it could be a very beautiful week for new opportunities. We have a new moon on the 14th. That is part of, because it's of course conjunct the Sun, it's at 21 degrees Virgo. So this new moon is going to be part of that easement, that grand trine in Earth. And when you have Pluto and Uranus trining a new moon, there is that huge energy of metamorphosis and change. Surprise, the odd, the unnormal, the stuff that you would never have imagined, or things that beforehand were not visible to you, maybe because you were afraid of them or you didn't want to see them. Major changes based on the ability or the sense of ease that comes, or comfort that comes with these taboo or unusual things, that if we're easing it out a little bit, maybe we're not so intimidated by it and we're able to sort of find a room for it, make space for it. This can also really help out if you've been feeling like really clogged up or held back in a way, like nobody will give you a shot, nobody will give you a chance, maybe because you didn't have a traditional background, etc., etc. There is going to be this easement this week, and a new opportunity may come simply because people are more open-minded, and maybe you'll give somebody another opportunity because you're more open-minded, and create opportunities for yourself because you're more open-minded. Maybe you could actually be good at something that you never thought you would be. So could be beautiful opportunities opening up this week. We do have the Sun in opposition to Neptune, but I think it's all part of that grand trine configuration. We have Mercury in opposition to Saturn for most of this week. By the end of the week, that's gonna break apart too. It's just not that strong. Mercury in opposition to Saturn is first and foremost suppression of speech, or information not getting out. When that breaks, it's going to be, I think, something that can be a game changer and definitely a mind changer, as Mercury is going direct by the 15th. So Mercury will go direct when it's still in opposition to Saturn, but ultimately Saturn won't be able to hold it for long, and information and sharing, as well as Communications will come back online. We'll really start to see Mercury going direct, going full speed ahead toward the end of this month. And then we have a lot of optimism from Venus. All week long, Venus is sextile to Mars, square to Jupiter, and trine to Chiron. So she's in a highly productive, very sensual, very progressive, move forward, take the chances, heal our sense of self-worth and value and even attractiveness coming back online, maybe even our prosperity coming back online. We have an interesting opposition between Mars and Chiron this week. It's interesting because that can usually lead or result in a lot of injuries or a lot of pain and suffering that comes back up and keeps getting in our way and will not, has to be dealt with. And will sort of set a fire under the ass of anybody who doesn't want to deal with it. So we can draw some information from that as well, but with that in the air, injury can be more likely. So that's just an FYI. We'll see how you interact with that especially. So let's get into Sagittarius specific information. I look for two things. I look for what is your ruling dignitary doing and what is Sagittarius, what is in the zodiac sign of Sagittarius. Well, that answer is zero. Nothing big is in the zodiac sign of Sagittarius. But Jupiter is in a very optimistic position. It's at 15 degrees Taurus, so it's dead center Taurus. It's square to Venus all week, and that's the only consistency all week long. However, we do have Jupiter by the new moon, so by the 14th, trining that new moon, and And then after that, the sun is really too far out will continue to move on and won't be in a very tight trine to Jupiter. But even in a loose trine to Jupiter, there is an energy of feeling good about yourself, feeling optimistic, and feeling super positive and capable. We also have that trine to the new moon, meaning this is really lucky and fortunate. A lucky and fortunate changes, whatever appeals to us that is outside of the box and is different that we normally would not have connected with, it's going to come to us and it's going to be the answer. So I actually really love this energy. It's got a little surprise twist to it, but it's also very optimistic. Let's go into the decans, shall we? All right, if you know that your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Sagittarius, it's in the first decan, or group of 10 degrees of Sagittarius. So you guys are Sagittarius ones. This correlates to an estimate, but it correlates to birthdays, basically November Sagittarians, anywhere between November 22nd and December 1st. In and around there. Yes, if you're a Sagittarian and you know it because you've read your birth chart and you were born on the 21st, of course, absolutely, that would include you as well. Your natal suns are in a really interesting position because they're square to Mercury, retrograde at first, but then by the 15th, Mercury goes direct. Okay, so you're square to Mercury all week long. Your natal suns are also square to Saturn, and that's been a long-term square, which means there's shifts and changes or opposition when it comes to rules, laws, regulations, maybe even commitments or debts. Those kind of things that are really nagging you and challenging you, but if you live up to them and if you face them and you learn from them, can really advance you and make you so much stronger. The same thing with Mercury, however, because Mercury and Saturn, remember, for most of the week are in opposition to each other, and your natal sun sits square between the two of them. So there is this impasse of sorts when it comes to words and information, stuff that you have to say, but you have to find out the information to be able to make a strong statement as well. There could be a congestion there that causes challenges, but it's a prime opportunity for learning. And if you take find patience and educate yourself, this will really strengthen you. though it will be a little bit of a difficult, challenging week, it could really end up advancing you a lot. You also have, your natal suns have a long-term sextile to Pluto, which means you are the disruptor. You bring the change, and you bring change other people want, because there tends to be a level of being impressed by you when your sun is sextile to Pluto, because people will immediately feel your presence and know how powerful you are. So this is a real nice, impactful aspect that's going to be impacting you guys for the next couple of years. Let's move on to Sagittarius 2s. If you know that your natal sun is between 10 and 19 degrees Sagittarius, it's in the second group of 10 degrees, or decan, of Sagittarius. So you guys are Sagittarius 2s. This correlates to birthdays between December 2nd and the 11th. So your natal suns are sextile to Mars and trine to Venus. They're also trine to Chiron. They're semi-square to Pluto, and they're semi-square to the South Node. Semi-square to Pluto and semi-square to the South Node means you're going to be agitated as fuck with people who do not want to get the hell out of their comfort zone, or things are going to nag you until you change and get outside of your comfort zone. Because there is this sense of beautiful inspiration, inspired to change, maybe a thorn in someone's side, especially those that want to stay the same. So it could be that you are the one that's the thorn in somebody's side, forcing them to change or showing them that it's too good to not change. And then there will come that frustration of dealing with, but I'm comfortable. Well, comfort isn't growing, and we got to push forward. You also have a quincunx to Jupiter, which means you will have an inspiration to expand, broaden your minds, and learn. Healing through rough lessons also, because there's a long-term trine to Chiron. You want to make things better. And a lot of this implies that because there's a trine to Chiron, you learn the hard way, and you don't want to repeat the same mistakes by staying in the same position. So this is a very progressive energy. It's also a sense of, especially when it comes to your romantic relationships, since we've got a trine to Venus and a sextile to Mars, there's a sense of, you better change. You better change, because I want to do better. I want more. And there are opportunities in front of me now to improve upon things. Let's go on to Sagittarius 3s. If you know that your natal sun is between 20 and 29 degrees Sagittarius, you guys are Sagittarius 3s. This correlates to birthdays between December 12th and the 22nd. So your natal suns are the ones in a long-term sextile to the South Node and trine to the North Node. So there is an ease, maybe even opportunities, because you're comfortable with yourself, opportunities that come from what you've always been good at, or from home, family, friends. Those opportunities could be headed your way. But the trine to the North Node says they also create an easement when it comes to challenges. It's like feeling so good about yourself, the challenging stuff actually seems interesting, which is really progressive energy. You also are square to the new moon and square to the sun all week long. So there, you could experience difficult new situations because of confidence or courage issues, also butting heads with other egos. And the square to Neptune, which is also long-term, could create confusion, especially how you see yourself. So you're like right there, Sagittarius 3s, at ground zero. What have you fooled yourself into believing that you can't do it? Or that you're not capable? Or that you're too capable and now it's hacking away at your confidence because you got in over your head? There is a challenge here to see things, including yourself, realistically. So you see these challenges realistically so you can learn from them, grow from them, and figure them out to move forward. Square to the new moon suggests that you will be inspired and desperately want a newness, a freshness, a new chance, a new change, maybe because of all these challenges around you, realizing that something isn't right and maybe it never will be. But there's definitely a sense of you're going to have to I don't know. There's definitely a challenge around the new. If not getting the new thing or wanting the new thing, then feeling that you deserve the new thing. Or maybe all these challenges add up to making you certain that you're ready to start over or you're ready for something different. However, because it's all squares, there's an implication that you've got to learn something first. And before you can move on to something new, you've got to kind of earn your passage into that something new, and that will become very evident right now. You also have a quincunx to Uranus. Surprises, also desire to be free and unrestricted is growing inside of you and can really agitate or incite a lot of issues right now for the next year or so. And if you can just inspire yourself through education, you won't have to keep changing that much. If you can focus on the learning and growing through the learning, you won't need the new thing every other day or feel so bogged down with restrictions and rules. But it's actually a good thing because it kind of inspires you to assert your own sense of self, your own independence. And with the quincunx, it implies it will be challenging over the next year or so, but it will be worth it. It's almost like just growing pains at this point. I love you guys so much. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and share it with somebody else that you think would enjoy it. Then come on over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot for your week ahead tarot card reading. I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel so we can grow over here, and I'll see you next week.